Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV for what is potentially the last episode of the Rumour Mill for this season. We have something else potentially lined up for next Monday. We'll see what happens, but certainly after that, there won't be any more until possibly January, if not next summer. But it's all been good fun. As always, I'm Stephen, and I'm joined tonight by all of the Cannon Chatter crew. So we have G and we have Lottie. Guys, how are you, G?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, missed out on last week's show because I had a what they call the Rona. That's what we call it in London. But yeah, feeling better, feeling good. And yeah, just kind of glad to be back. Really, lot to talk about, lot to discuss. Transfers, yesterday's friendly and all sorts. So yeah, looking forward to the show. But yeah, I'm good.
Excellent, Lottie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm surprisingly not hanging after yesterday, but I'm good. I'm happy. I'm glad to see G back on the screen as well. I'm glad he's all right. But
Cheers.
yeah, I'm good. How are you, Stephen?
Do you know what? I'm good. I've had a busy weekend, and I wanted to watch the match yesterday, and got home for the second half and couldn't actually purchase it. I was happy enough to actually spend the money yesterday because I knew half of it was going to charity. And when I got home at half time, I wasn't able to pay the £8 or whatever it was. So I did watch it, but it was obviously a streamed version that I wasn't paying for. But we'll come on to that in a minute. Other than that, do you know what? I'm good. Football aside, life's okay. Yeah. So on to tonight's show, as I say, potentially it's the last in the series of the Rumour Mill. And we're going to do it slightly differently tonight. There hasn't really been much in the way of rumours over the last week since we were last on here. Barry's still hanging. Evening, Chris. So yeah, there hasn't been an awful lot of rumours in the last week. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually look back at yesterday's game, because obviously you guys were fortunate enough to both be there, and I'm not jealous in the slightest.
Do you know, Stephen, the only disappointing thing is I didn't actually get to catch G. I was the only disappointment from yesterday. We were just like everywhere. No. It's like G had a kid, and I was already down the pub by the time he came out. So. But do you know what? I should have said to you, the Tollies allows kids until 7 o'clock to come and have some food. They do wicked.
Yeah, no, definitely. Next time, the thing it was with me, it was kind of like last minute as well. Because I know you kind of planned to do it, but mine was kind of last minute because I didn't get a call from my mate until like the day before, so didn't really put too much planning into it. But next time for sure.
Definitely.
So yeah, as I say, you guys were at the match yesterday, and so we'll go through and we'll sort of talk about some of the players and the performances, and we'll look at not only how the game went, but those players who needs replaced. Who needs to go, and obviously we've been linked with so many players. How many players are we actually going to get in between now and the end of the month? So bear with us. We're going to play our intro, and we will be back very, very shortly, and we will get into it.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
So, as I say, a slightly different version of the Rumour Mill tonight, but it's good to be back and good to be chatting about the rumours, albeit very few incoming rumours. So you guys were at the match yesterday. G, how did it feel to be back in the stadium?
You know what? It felt absolutely amazing. I've got to admit, like I said, I know, Lottie had kind of planned, to kind of go. I know it was a couple of days before, we knew that Lottie was going down there and stuff. But for me, it was kind of last minute. Like my mate, whose mum is a member, basically just dropped me a text and was like, "Oh, do you fancy going to the game?" So to be honest, I hadn't really thought about going for whatever reason. I've had a lot on recently, so I didn't really think about it. I kind of just settled, with the prospect of watching at home. But yeah, when I got the text, I was absolutely on it. I'm like, yeah, sort it, do whatever you need to do. I'll ping you the money, whatever it is. And yeah, it was brilliant. I was literally like a kid You know, like on Saturday night, I was like a kid on Christmas Eve, and even the morning of the game, I was, even though it was a friendly, I was a little bit nervous as well, which was quite weird. Like, obviously it was a friendly and it wasn't necessarily a competitive game, but I don't know what it was, but there was a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves. And yeah, I was ready. I was ready like an hour or two before we even had to leave the house. And I'm looking at my missus and the kids, and I'm like, "Come on, man, like get a move on." Do you know what I mean? I just want to leave and get to the stadium. So in the end, we got there literally just before kickoff because we had a little bit of a palaver at the turnstiles trying to get one of the tickets, just wouldn't scan. But yeah, you know what? It was fantastic. It was so good to just be at the ground, you know, soaking up the atmosphere, you know, with so many, you know, fellow Gooners. And yeah, I just enjoyed it, you know, regardless of the result, regardless of the performance. You know, I posted some pictures on Twitter and stuff, you know, just kind of a little kind of collage of our day out. But yeah, we all had great fun. And it was just so good to just, you know, be back at the ground and to enjoy watching Arsenal, you know, not from my armchair or not necessarily from the TV, but just, you know, to soak up that ground atmosphere. But yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to go back.
Excellent. What about you, Lottie?
Well, you guys saw when I got there. I was like walking up the road from Holloway. I'm like, look where I am. I'm like standing there and I took my videos, and it was just so surreal to be there, like just to go home. It's like going to your first match all over again. It's been that long. I mean, I remember my last away game, but I don't remember my last home game. I mean, the last away game I went to was November 2019, and that was up in Leicester, and we lost that day, so I don't really want to remember that. But I mean, it was just so surreal. I mean, I had to go running and get my shirt, which we can see behind me. So, and then I came out and I managed to catch Liam, and then I caught up with Jay as well, and we just had to have a few beers, and it was just great. Like everyone was talking to everyone, everyone's moving around the tables. Yeah, it was just amazing. Like that's what I go to the football for. I go to catch up with people, the atmosphere, and obviously the football. It's just what I love about Arsenal. It's just everyone talks to everyone. It's great. I mean, walking up that slope and down into them stairs down to row 3 in that North Bank. Oh, it was incredible. It was beautiful, buzzing. You were in the clock ends, weren't you? So it wasn't. Yeah, I was in the clock end. Where I was, it was absolutely rammed. There wasn't even a spare seat, and like it was just it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal to be back. Yeah,
by the time it was like 20 minutes in, I was talking to fans sitting in front, sitting to the side of us, behind us. Do you know what I mean?
You just talk to everyone much, don't you? So
yeah,
that's what you do. It's great.
It's good. Loved it.
All right. Great to see so many people tuning in live tonight. If you are watching on Twitter or Facebook, jump across onto YouTube for us and drop us a subscription and a like on the video. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do something. I threw some of the pictures that you had sent me through onto a PowerPoint. Now, when I try to share these, it's going to kick me off screen. So I'm not going to be able to see what's actually going on the screen. So Lottie, you can talk us through a little bit as we go through here.
This was pre-match. We were out in the Tolly in the back garden. We've got Liam and Jay on the other side from me, and then behind me we've got Paul as well. And that is Stu. That's usually on his podcast. I've never actually met him. He's just been a name on the screen to me. But he's an absolute scream. He came all the way from Portsmouth yesterday.
Wow.
He's meant to be going home today. But Jay came from southeast like UG, and I believe Liam came from somewhere out in Kent. Again, we just yeah. No, this is the second one they took pictures. Someone said, "I'll take the picture for you." I was like, "Yep, that's fine. It's much better than the first one." So we were just getting started there. As you can see, Paul's not very impressed. Yeah, and then that was us before we split and went up the stairs and got searched and went into the barriers. I literally 10 minutes before kickoff. And then that's my seat, and that's the wonderful Pepe. I think that was in the second. Yeah, that was the second half. Absolute quality. I mean, I moan about his crosses, but sitting there that close to him is like, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, where Pep is, I was obviously watching players warm up and things, and I was really quite pleased with the fans and their reception of Xhaka coming back. They got up, they applauded him. They obviously Ben White was warming up. The only thing that got under my skin, and I'm gonna have a moan here, is Willian. He literally did not even look at anyone. He did not get applaud the fans back or anything, and none of us were booing him. We were all clapping at them because they had come back. There you go. This is the exact picture, as you can see on the screen, and he just completely ignored us.
Yeah,
well, the fans that were
something.
clapping. I wasn't one of them, but
yeah, that was something that we kind of spoke about offline. I said that I was quite surprised that, you know, even some of the players that really divide opinion amongst the fan base, they got really good receptions. So yeah, like, you know, the fans,
for him to do that,
the fans were very positive.
I'm done with him. I've done it, and that's my guy. That's my Kieran. That's the only picture I got of him. I got really annoyed. I'm really annoyed. I think this was just after Chelsea scored, by the looks of things. He was not happy at all.
Yeah.
And this one's one of my favourite ones. I didn't take this one, so gee, I'll let you say.
Yeah, no, this is. I think this was post game. I'm obviously at this moment kind of just soaking up the kind of last moments in terms of before we kind of head off, and then, you know, the missus took a cheeky picture, but it's actually a really good picture. Really liked it. So yeah, that's just me literally looking out onto the ground and just kind of soaking up like the last moments before we kind of head home.
Yeah. And then there's our wonderful Ben White. I mean, he was brilliant. I mean, wasn't he? He was just great to watch. I really did enjoy watching him.
He was fantastic. He was.
No, definitely. I mean, every time the fans were like calling it, this one. In the middle of North Bank, I don't know if anyone saw it at home, but basically there was a bunch of Chelsea fans sitting in that space. And when that second goal went in, they stood up and they pulled off their jackets and started singing for Chelsea. One of them idiots picked up their child and put them on their shoulders while Arsenal fans were throwing water bottles at them. There's no sense in that. Absolutely no sense in it at all. I just absolutely. Stewards did throw him out in the end. They did get aggressive, and it was just like, okay, that's done now. And then you might have heard around the ground, if you're Arsenal, stand up. And we all stood up and we just carried on like nothing had actually happened. Right, how do I... And then obviously that's towards the end of the night. You can see all our shot glasses there.
Started to get a little bit messy.
It got a bit messy. We did have a good laugh. We did get thrown out at the closing time, but we all did have a good laugh. We really enjoyed ourselves. Quality.
No,
it was good. We were singing. We did get to shut up. We were banging the tables and everything. We were singing, and they told us to shut up, and we didn't.
It's this last one I'm about to bring up that I kind of wondered about why, at this point in the evening, one person was on Black Sambuca and the rest of you were on Gaviscon.
Do you know what? That's actually Tequila Rosé. They'd run out Tequila Rosé, so Liam ended up with a Black Sambuca.
Yeah.
I don't drink black, so I absolutely refused to touch the stuff. I said, no, I'll go with the tequila. And then he said, he volunteered to take the black. So that was that. It was like, oh, let's put it on Twitter. Let's see who guesses right. And I'm like, it's a bit obvious.
Yeah, no, it looked like a really good day out.
No, it was. I did take a load of pictures for Georgina as well of Bellerin, which one in particular I didn't send you guys. So, Georgina, I hope you like them.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, you did send me other ones as well. I wasn't putting them all in. There would have been too many.
I took too many. I mean, I sent you the best ones I had, so I got loads.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I say it looked like a great day out, and not jealous in the slightest that he's got to go. But
you know what? I can't wait to go with the pair of you. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be havoc.
Quality, man.
It's going to be havoc. It's going to be havoc.
Yeah.
It's going to be messy. It's going to be very messy. Quality night.
No,
can't wait.
I think for me,
I'm just doing this because I know it's going to be speed boy.
Hey, I like
from my point of view, watching sort of from home,
yeah,
it's nice to see fans back in the stadium. You know, you can't beat the atmosphere of, and even watching on TV, you can't beat the atmosphere of having real fans in the stadium. That whole thing where they tried to pump in your crowd noise on the channels and stuff when all the matches were on. It just I couldn't watch it. I had to turn the sound off or else flick to the version of it on Sky or whatever it was that didn't have the pumped in crowd noise because it was just so fake and awful. So yeah, it was nice to see fans back in the stadium. It was a pre-season friendly, albeit the result wasn't what we wanted, but it was nice to see the fans back. It really was, and it'll be nice when the stadium's completely full. And yeah, as you say, it'll be great when the three of us get to actually go and see a game together. Nice. All right, so let's sort of have a look at some of the talking points and some of the rumours and stuff. So, I mean, we'll start off with Leno's performance. He's been one, we've been looking at potentially bringing in Ramsdale, Sam Johnson, Onana. These are all the players that we've been linked with in terms of the goalkeeping position. Some of them you sort of think, well, the likes of Onana is only going to come in as a starter. So is Leno going to go? Then you're looking at Ramsdale and Johnson, and you're sort of going, well, are they backup? But actually, the more I've sort of looked at Ramsdale, the more I think if we bring him in, it will be as a starter because I think he's better with his distribution with his feet than Leno is. And Leno again yesterday for me, from what I've seen in the second half and stuff, it never fills you with confidence. So you guys, as I say, I mean, you've seen him firsthand yesterday. I mean, what were your thoughts? How he's feeling? G,
I'll let you go first. I just said my thoughts. I'm going to say it again as well.
You know what it is, yeah. Watching the game, like it was so. I was saying to you, off air, Stephen, that I kind of got caught up in the whole atmosphere of obviously being back in the stadium. That even though I wasn't really happy with a lot of things, it took me quite a while to kind of digest the performance and obviously the performance individually of some of the players. But I actually took notes, like not when I was watching the game, but on the way home when we was in the car, I was actually writing down like some of the positives and some of the negatives in terms of the game. And I kind of revisited the lists as time's gone on between the match and now. And he was down as one of my highlighted negatives from the game. I was sitting directly behind or kind of to the right of the goal in the second half where he was keeping. And every single time the ball came to him, me and a group of Arsenal fans. I had Arsenal fans all the way around me, but I was talking to an Arsenal fan to my right, and I was talking to a geezer who sat directly in front of me. And it's like we literally almost like held our breath every single time the ball came to him. Quite clearly, the tactics are that we're going to build from the back. But every time that ball came to Leno's feet, I just didn't know what was going to happen. I counted at least 2, if not 3 occasions. Good evening. At least 2, if not 3 occasions where he either looked suspect with the ball at his feet or he collected the ball fine, but then his distribution went straight to a Chelsea player. There were at least 2 or 3 occasions which could have cost us or was close to costing us a goal. So that watching him in that game just reinforced and reminded me of my concerns that I had at the back end of last season and throughout last season, in that there were a number of occasions when, his either his conduct or his decision making, cost us, invaluable points last season. And don't get me wrong, I know he's not played since the end of last season, and he didn't turn out for Germany, at the Euros. Nonetheless, these are basic fundamentals for a goalkeeper. For me, it's like you're however old, you know your game. And I know there are tactics, but at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with the ball at your feet, get rid of it. Like, just get rid of it. Or, but for me, I'm just thinking to myself, a professional goalkeeper, how can you not feel comfortable playing a 5 or 10 yard pass? Or how can you pick up the ball, go to boot it, down the ground, and you somehow slice it, half volley it, straight to Tammy Abraham? It's just, it was really difficult to watch at times. It was really difficult to watch, and for me, he was one of the standout negatives in terms of that performance. And there was even a moment where I really praised him for what he did. I think he came out and he collected a cross really well. And I went, oh, give him a clap. And I was like, well done. And he literally just palmed the ball straight to Tammy Abraham at that point. And I was just like, I said to the guy in front of me, this is the problem with Leno. He's got this in his locker. He's got this. He's just got this self-destruct button where even when he's doing, something simple quite well, or if he's doing something spectacularly well, he's just got it in his locker to make a mistake. And the problem is at this level, especially the level of the Premier League and the opposition that we're playing, we're going to get punished 9 out of 10 times when he has a moment like this. So, yeah, for me, I could criticize him all night for the whole hour. I tell you, I really could, but I don't have that long. But yeah, for me, he was a massive negative. And the least we need to do in this transfer market is to get somebody in who's going to keep him on his toes. Because if we don't, I can only see it getting worse next season, to be honest.
Yeah, because obviously, it looks the Runnerson deal has fallen through, so he's still at the club. And we need to obviously try and get him out. And Jim had put it down already, brought the comment up, but that was the wrong one. Sorry. Where was it? So many comments. Leno's a good keeper, but a poor footballer.
100%.
And I think that is very accurate, Jim. And that he's good at the Hollywood saves and stuff, and we've said this before. But I have no confidence when he's got the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
The thing for me is, Lottie, do you think if we brought in someone like Ramsdale that they would become first choice? Or do you think Leno would still be first choice?
Oh, I think Leno would be still first choice because obviously he's settled in. But it will put him on his toes. I mean, look at what Emi Martinez did before he left. That he was shit scared that he was not going to get that top spot, and he actually worked. And I actually liked him that season. And then he kind of lost his big German attitude, and it's just like, what's going on? And that's why I'm not happy with him. I haven't been not happy with him in a very, very long time. I mean, I think the clock was ticking down. It was 2-1, and the ball went out behind the goal. I've never seen a goalkeeper pick up a ball so lazily. Like, I don't want to be here attitude. He's got to go for me. I've had enough of him.
Yeah. It's an interesting one at this stage in the window. I don't know that he's going to go. I think it's a bit late.
Can't see it.
Definitely.
But I wonder at the wisdom of spending the supposed 30 million on Ramsdale if he's not going to be a starter. That's an awful lot of money for a backup goalkeeper.
But they're selling him based on performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for me, if we sign Ramsdale for 30 million, then it's got to be with the view that he's going to be the number one, or he's going to transitionally become the number one. Otherwise, that is just ridiculous. Like I try to not read into too much in terms of the fees of players and so forth, because let's face it, the media have a massive agenda against Arsenal in terms of breaking down transfers, how we supposedly pay for transfers, etc. But if the rumors are true and we have bidded that amount for Ramsdale, then surely he's going to come in and either be the number one or potentially work towards or transitional into the number one. Otherwise, like for me, that's an insane amount of money. I don't know about you, Lottie, but I would think like if we knew we weren't gonna sign maybe a 30 million pound Ramsdale or another keeper that were out there, it would have just made sense to make Matty Ryan's move permanent.
Oh, do you know what I would have loved?
I'm still wondering
that would have
why
solved our problems. I am as well. He was free. Arsenal love the freebie, so that doesn't make sense to me. But I can also understand that Matt Ryan wants to be first. He wants to be playing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I find that's the problem with the last season or so. They don't rotate in cup games. It's always Leno. I'm sick of seeing him in the goal. We need to start rotating a bit more. I don't care if he's number one. We need to rest him for the bigger games. Like if we're playing Brighton in the FA Cup, he doesn't need to be in goal. Or even the smaller team than Brighton.
I think that
comes. To be there.
That's sort of more an Arteta thing, and I said this last season as well. It's very much the same with Pep. the keeper is the keeper, and you know Pep never really changes his keeper much either. There's not much rotation there, so I don't see that philosophy changing with Arteta. I don't think he will rotate the keepers much. So whoever comes in as number 2 has got to be. They've got to accept that they're probably not going to get much game time. The one that I want to just sort of come back to a comment there from G, and I think this is very, very true. He slows down the game way too much for me. I need to see a keeper win the ball and get up and throw it out immediately. It helps so much. Sorry, excuse me. It does, and if you go back to when we were at our fluent best years ago, the keeper would get the ball and they would distribute it quickly. And yeah, Leno, he dillies on the ball, dilly-dallies, and waits for too long, and he gets caught out. They're trying to get the attacking team to close them down, so that then they can play the ball out and have space. The problem is that as players start to close Leno down, you just, for me, I know my butt goes like that. I'm clenching, going, he's going to lose this.
I'm normally
and there's just no confidence there. Ramsdale is another who can't play with his feet. Onana should be the option. Even Matt Ryan's good with his feet, and as G said, his distribution was quick. Yeah, absolutely.
The bottom line is that Arteta wants to play a certain way, and Leno can't play that way. So Arteta and Edu need to go and get us a keeper that can. It's that simple, because just keeping Leno as number 1 and keep on consistently requesting him or asking him to do something he clearly is not good at. There has to come a point when we kind of can't blame the player anymore, because it's almost like it's not within his ability as an athlete to do that. So like as much as I want him moved on and as much as I want him replaced, like it is making me really start to question like just the thought process, because like I played football, it was at a really low level, but my dad, I used to play centre back. When I stopped growing, my dad said, listen, you need to transition into another position, because every time we come up against a tall striker, they're going to ping it in the box and you're going to get beat every single time. Like that is just common sense. So I transitioned from a centre back to a right back, and then eventually pace let me down. So I became a holding midfielder, because I had the build, I had the engine at the time, etc. Not anymore, but at the time. So, but that was just common sense. Like I feel as though as much as I want to criticize Leno, and I have criticized him, we're asking the geezer to do something he clearly can't do. No. And that's annoying. It's starting to frustrate me, if I'm honest.
Okay. Well, let's move on, because we can't spend all this time just on one player, because we've a lot of players to get through.
Leno. Leno.
Yeah. Do you know what? Great to see so many new faces as well tonight in the chat. If you haven't already, make sure and hit the subscribe button. And if you don't know why it's important to hit that subscribe button, you will find out later on in the show when we do our bit of our recap on our subscriber challenge. All right, so moving on. An area we need to look at, and for me, this is a big one that we need to address before the end of the window. And if we don't, we are in serious problem, and that is the right back position. Chambers, for me, he's not a right back. He really isn't. And I know people have said before, he was great. And if you look at that game against West Ham last season, where he had a great second half, but he actually had a terrible first half, and people tend to forget that. And then Georgina, if you're still there, you might want to close your ears for this bit. Number 2 came on yesterday in the second half, and do you know what? It was a perfectly weighted ball through to Tammy Abraham. It really was. He was trying to pass the ball to number 34, and you'll realise that there's certain players, I'm not going to say their names anymore, I'm just going to say their numbers. He tried to play the ball to number 34, and I think number 34 was guilty of not making a whole lot of effort to get to it. I think he would have been hard pushed to get to it, but he didn't look like he was really trying. But the ball fell to Tammy Abraham, who slotted it in, and you know what? It cost us the game. I mean, guys, number 2, what are we feeling here? Because it doesn't look like he's going anywhere, and talk is that he potentially might get a new contract.
Please no. I know Georgina will be happy about it, but no thank you. No thank you. Sorry, Georgina. If I'm honest with you, I didn't even realise he came on the pitch until that pass. Until that happened, I didn't realise he was on. That's how bad it was. I mean, I can't say much more than that. It was absolutely awful. Honestly.
Yeah. This was another thing that was on my list of positives and negatives. And as you can imagine, it was on my list of negatives. The right back situation needs to get sorted, and it needs to get sorted out ASAP. I'm not having this, Chambers has done well. Yeah, he's done well. And at the end of the day, we're asking a player to play in a position that he doesn't naturally play in. So for me, I can't really criticize him and say that he's done a bad job, because I think he's playing generally to the best of his ability in that right back position. The problem is he's not a right back, so he's quite versatile. He can do a job there. He can do a job at CDM for Fulham. He can do a job at centre back, but we don't need somebody that's going to do a job. Like, we need a first team right back. And for me, there are players in the market that, we could, we've featured them on our shows. We featured, and these are players that, we don't have a network of scouting team, looking at players across Europe or across world football. These are just players that would come at a reasonable fee and that are playing for clubs that would be tempted, by the knock of Arsenal. So I just can't quite work out why we've not gone into the market. And the only reason I can give it is because obviously, we've got Chambers, we've got Cedric, we've got Bellerin. So we've got 3 players that can technically play in that position. So we basically don't have room for right back. That's the only kind of logical sense as to why we've not moved for a player. But yeah, Bellerin, like it was so frustrating because you know what, it was a friendly, but at the same time, like I am very competitive. So even though it was a friendly, I wanted to win the game. And it was so disappointing because we just got back into the game. It wasn't long after we'd scored the equalizer. He came on, obviously, wants to get him match fit. And yeah, he played an assist through to Tammy, and Tammy put it away. So again, it was just, the same thing I said about Leno is the same thing I'm going to say about Bellerin. There were times when Leno did certain things that could have cost us goals. Bellerin did something which cost us a goal, and it's really worrying. With just over a week, just over a week, almost 2 weeks until the season starts. That Bellerin is, 1, even getting any game time, and 2, is not on the verge of leaving the club because, it's a problem. It's a big problem right back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't understand how supposedly Arteta still rates him so highly. I mean, listen, everybody who watches this show, and if you're new to the show, you'll soon learn I'm not a fan of number 2. And I haven't been for a long time. I said it before, he burst onto the scene years ago. He ended Debusssy's career, but he peaked years ago. And people sort of say, oh, he's had injuries and stuff. But even before the injuries, for me, he had peaked. He had hit his ceiling, and he has never gone on to be that player that people sort of believed he would be. We should have sold him last year, and I understand why Arteta didn't. Arteta needed someone in the dressing room when you had the likes of Mustafi and Ozil, who were sort of, shall we say, bad influence. Yeah, in the dressing room. He needed someone like number 2 who was 100% on his side to be there to back him up. And number 2 is a big influence in that dressing room, so he needed him there. So I can understand why we didn't sell him. But you've seen sort of in the second half of last season, especially once those players had gone, his game time diminished. Yeah, because Arteta didn't need him in that sense. So why all of a sudden we're hearing that Arteta wants to keep him and wants to offer him a new contract and stuff? I don't understand it. I really don't. We need, as collectively as a fan base, I think it's one of the few things that most people will agree on. There are the sentimental people who still say, no, we want him to stay. But I think for the most part, everybody accepts we need a better right back. if we want to compete. So why this isn't something that's been addressed is beyond me. And it's concerning, as you say. You know, we're about 10 days away from the start of the season, and realistically, you know, anybody that we get in now, between now and that point, isn't going to be playing in that game. Exactly. So our starting 11 is going to come from those players basically that were playing yesterday.
Other than Ben White, yeah.
Yeah, Chambers is not a right back. Chambers is not a right back. Number 2 isn't good enough, and Cedric can't buy game time at the minute. I don't know what's going on there, why he cannot get a game, but it's strange. He hasn't been good for years yet. Exactly what I've been saying there. Inter Milan want him. They want Serie A. He has been quality and injuries. There has to be something. Arteta rated him. I really wanted him to be quality, but just too many F-ups. Yeah, his injuries killed him. But this is the thing, Jim. I'm saying that, you know, I think he had peaked before his injuries. Personally, I would let him go to Inter on loan.
Same.
But it seems like even they're looking at moving on from that one because it's dragged on for too long. And you kind of wonder. I know it's important not to be shafted in the transfer market like we have been before, but clubs know that we want rid of these players, and you know, they know we need to get rid of them. So our hands are kind of tied, and we may just have to accept lesser values or deals that don't necessarily suit us just to get rid of some of them. So it is what it is. So I mean, obviously, I mean, in there we talked about Chambers and Cedric as well. You know, Chambers got a big game time yesterday. I don't think Cedric played. I don't think I've seen him.
No, I don't know.
He warmed up quite a bit down by where I was, but that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
The other one, I mean, obviously, Ben White came on in the second half for Holding. And from all accounts, Holding didn't have a great first half. As I say, I didn't see it. I mean, do you see very much now Holding being White's backup this season? Or do you think there's going to be a competition for place? You know, does White walk straight into the starting 11?
Do you know what? I think it's going to be a competition, but I think Ben's going to establish himself and he's not going to be droppable. He done it at Brighton. He done it at Leeds. Yeah, he done it at Leeds. He done it at Brighton. He's going to do it again. I mean, as I said earlier, before the show started, that clearance he made was absolutely brilliant. I just can't get it out of my head. It was just like, wow. And like, how many times have we seen Rob Holding do that? Not very often.
Yeah, in the first half, it was different. It was a difficult watch in the first half. I have to be honest, watching Holding, and I think a lot of it was to do with I don't know whether it was tactics, but there seemed to be like it was when we were particularly pressing Chelsea, playing quite a high line, and having Mari and Holding playing, it didn't work well because every time Chelsea got the ball, they had the players to kind of pick out a pass, and those two were just clearly on the ropes. I can't see Mari and Holding playing much together in the season at all, if I'm completely honest, because I don't think neither of them have that much pace. I think it would just really depend on the opposition. But for me, Holding had a really poor first half. And Ben White, although it was 45 minutes or even less of a friendly, he came on. He just looked so much more assured with the ball at his feet. He was for me quite significantly quicker. There were a couple of times when I was actually quite surprised how pacey he was, to be honest. Obviously I didn't see much of him previously, but I didn't think he was that quick. So yeah, I personally see Ben White cementing, maybe not initially, because I think Arteta is a manager. He's kind of like a creature of habit. I can kind of see potentially, Holding starting against Brentford, but I don't want that to happen. But I think as the season progresses, I think Ben White's quality will shine through, and I think once he gets a run of games, I think Holding's participation this season will basically be standing for Ben White, and that's not going to bode well for his career at Arsenal, because Ben White, fingers crossed, doesn't ever seem to get injured. He seems to be able to play like a remarkable amount of games. I think I was looking at some stats on Sky Sports, and it's incredible. Like in the season he played for Leeds, in their championship win, he played every minute of every single game in the campaign. So yeah, I think he's a much better footballer than Holding, and I think that's one of the reasons why we paid the 50 million, because clearly Arteta wanted a ball playing centre back. And I think because of that reason, the fact that Arteta only signed him on only announced him on Friday, but he played 45 minutes on Sunday, I think that gives us a clear indication that he's going to be in the first team. And once he gets a first team spot, I can't see him losing it.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as I said before, I think we needed to replace David Luiz. You know, much as David Luiz wasn't great, you've seen how much we did miss him when he wasn't in the team, because he was one of the few that could get that ball from defence to attack quickly. And I think that's what Ben White will give us. So, I mean, I'm all for that. And, you know, seeing a couple of comments there, KT, White, Gabriel and Aarons. Yeah, I mean, that would be a brilliant back four. Anybody that loves this or watches this show knows I love Max Aarons, and that's who I want as right back. Great to see a Chelsea fan on the show tonight. In his opinion, Aubameyang is bringing the team down. He's done. Do you know what? We'll come on to that after. But yeah, I mean, we'll come on to that. Aarons would be an upgrade on Bellerin, but will Norwich sell when they've just got back up? It's a difficult one. You know, I know Lottie said this before. You don't think they'll sell their two best players, with obviously
that's automatic relegation. Who are they going to get, G? Who can
money
they
talks,
honestly,
man.
Money talks. Yeah, I know money talks, but I don't see them selling their best two players in one window.
Listen, you see Norwich, yeah? Norwich are not going to stay up anyway. They're already relegated. I'm sorry. But they will but they are.
Don't get me wrong,
They're
I like
already
the way
relegated.
they up there, but
they came up last time. They came up last time and they went straight back down. Now they don't even have Buendia. They're going down, so they might as well sell him to us.
I want to come back to this comment. I want to come back to this comment. I'm very concerned about the lack of outgoings. It could be 2020 all over again. And yeah, I mean that for me is the big thing. It's how few people have gone out. Now, one person that is rumoured to be on his way out is Kalashnik, who did come on yesterday, and he has come on in pre-season and played at centre back. But obviously, we know he's predominantly a left-sided player. And I've been very impressed with Tavares since he's come in. Yeah. So we don't need Kalashnik, and from all accounts, it looks like we may terminate his contract. Although Fenerbahce are interested in him, so even if we get a nominal fee from Fenerbahce for him, I'd be happy enough. I wouldn't be sad if they terminated his contract, but that potentially is one that may be on his way out. You guys see anything in him yesterday that make you think no, I would want to keep him?
Do you know what? He's not someone that stood out. I was too busy looking at Tavares as well. He's something else. He is absolutely something else. I mean, like, you can see where he used to be a winger on the left hand side, and it's the speed on him. It's just like, wow. We haven't, like, I know I say like that Kieran's fast, but he's a little bit faster, and he's 6 foot. He's just huge. How many left backs are 6 foot at the moment? They're not. But it's one player I was looking forward to seeing, and I was quite impressed with him. I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Gee, what did you think of him?
I tell you what, you know, Tierney. I know Tierney's up for the challenge. I know that because I can guarantee that about Tierney from what I've seen. But he's got his work cut out because Tavares is, you know, I'll be honest, I didn't even know who this player was. But what I've seen in pre-season, he's a player. And when I was watching him come on, I just prayed that he was a right back, because I just feel as though if he was a right back, we'd have our back four. Like, we potentially have our back four. So, but yeah, he's big. You know, I was actually surprised how big he was. Like, at one point, I was there was a corner to Chelsea, and he was in the box, and he's quite vocal as well from what I saw, and he was quite commanded in terms of he was telling people where to position themselves. And he was huge, absolute unit. And as Lottie says, he's pacey. And there was a time, there was a moment, I think it was in the first half, or maybe even the second half, I can't remember now. He whipped in an absolute delightful cross to Aubameyang, free header, pinpoint cross, absolute phenomenal cross. So yeah, by all accounts, from what I've seen, he looks one hell of a player, and at 8 million, that could be one of the potential signings of the season. I just hope he continues. But yeah, I think it just shows how imbalanced our team is at the moment, because we've got both Tierney and Tavares, fighting it out for that left back spot. But yeah, we've got 3 right backs potentially, and none of them are good enough to be in the first team. So, but yeah, that was definitely a positive. That was on my list of positives on my list today. Tierney and Tavares, quality.
I mean, a couple of people obviously saying, could he convert to a right back?
I don't
if
think
it was me,
he plays on the left.
I don't know, but I read somewhere that he's as good with his right foot as he is his left foot. But I've not seen him play in the right back position. But boy, if he could, then I don't see why not.
From the amount of research I did on this kid for my blog when he first signed up, I had to hunt everything down on Google, and I found a heat map. He's only ever played on the left hand side, even though he's 2-footed.
Yeah.
So it's a that's a bit of a risk for me. I know he's only 21. He's 21, but it's still a risk to put him on that side, especially with the league this close. If you were going to do that, you should have done it as soon as you got him in the door, so that he's comfortable.
He's some player though, I tell you. From looking at what he's done so far in pre-season, he's going to keep Tierney on his toes. And if Tierney is out injured, then we've got a ready-made replacement there.
You ain't got to worry about that left back side. I mean, he injured his knee a few years back, and he came back from it quite quickly. So he's only a kid, so he heals quicker.
True.
All right, well, let's move on. I want to come back to this comment just because it leads on nicely to the next player I want to sort of speak briefly about. It's actually worrying now. I've kept cool with the quarantines, etc. Things that got to take a week plus, so we've got to get going. Now, on that, I'm sure you've seen the tweet tonight from Torreira, who has left Uruguay and is on his way back to Spain. Now, Uruguay is not on the UK's green list, so he would have to quarantine coming back in. Do you think Torreira deserves a chance? Because at the minute, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. There is rumoured talk that there's offers on the table from Italy for him, and he's deciding he would prefer, I think, to go to Spain potentially, because he liked Darlow. He played in Italy before. So, given the fact that we're not really seeing any movement in our midfielders, is he one that we potentially need to maybe give another chance to and bring him back in?
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah, straight away.
Definitely.
For me, the midfield honestly gives me nightmares. It really does. And seeing Partey go down injured during that game, I was literally just thinking, no, this cannot happen. For me, Torreira, when he first joined, I remember, I think I said previously on the show, I saw him, I think it was the World Cup where I saw him playing. And there were rumours about us getting him. And I was really happy when we signed him, because what I'd seen him do for Uruguay in the World Cup, I thought, yeah, he's the type of player that we need, And he came in, he kind of took the Prem by storm, scored some really good goals, put in some really good performances. And for one reason or another, it's transpired that he's found himself on loan to Atletico Madrid and he can't get into the side. But for me, when I look at, if I look at it from a rationale perspective, so we've got Partey, and by the looks of it, we've got Xhaka in midfield. Okay. Then, other than those two, we can look at Lokonga, who's impressed in pre-season. But then we've also got El Nene and potentially Willock. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with these players, but for me, if we're going to give minutes to El Nene, then I don't understand why we're not giving minutes to Torreira. Because for me, Torreira is a much better player than El Nene. And to be honest, I don't even care if people don't agree with me. And I don't care if people don't like, that opinion. Because, as much as I've tried to give El Nene the benefit of the doubt. He is the one player for me that I had a real issue with last season. or when we started, doing these lives, he was kind of like, my player that I kind of want him moved on ASAP. And I've seen nothing other than the odd screamer, and chasing down the ball, maybe in a couple of big games right on the 90th minute. And obviously you look at those moments, and I always want him to do well. And as much as I might be coming across negative about El Nene, I'm not negative about any of the players. I genuinely want all of them to do well when they put on the Arsenal shirt. But El Nene is just not good enough. It's just that simple. He's not good enough. Like, there were so many occasions, I don't know if you saw, Lottie, when in that match, where every time, the ball came to him and Chelsea pressed, he looked panicked. He wanted to get rid of the ball like as quickly as possible, and he'd pick out the worst pass, or he didn't know like who's around him. Like when Partey gets the ball or Lokonga pick up the ball, they make a pass without even looking, because they kind of know where their teammates are. He's just awful on the ball, like really and truly. Like, we've got a goalkeeper that can't play with the ball at his feet. We've got a DM in El Nene, or centre mid, that can't play under pressure with the ball at his feet. And if we're going to honestly say we can give El Nene minutes, then I don't understand why we're not going to give Torreira a chance, why we're not going to give Aziz a chance, why we're not even going to play Willock and play some of these other players. I'll even go as far as to say Ainsley Maitland-Niles should be getting similar game time to El Nene, because I personally think Ainsley Maitland-Niles is probably a better centre mid than El Nene is. He's poor. He's so poor. And he's one player. Like, if we're gonna keep Xhaka, then he's one player we need to move on, because he's not good enough. He really isn't.
No, totally with you. Anybody who follows me on Twitter, you'll know I call him El Sideways. He doesn't go forward. He doesn't go backwards. He goes sideways. Doesn't matter what he's doing, if he's under pressure or not. It's sideways. He don't go forward. It drives me up the ball. I know I make a joke of it. But it's annoying. I love it when he scores a worldie, but he doesn't do that often enough. I mean, he scored his first Premier League goal last season. How long has he been with us?
Yeah, he's a very basic player. His abilities is very, very basic, and there are better players. There are better players that are not getting minutes. So, like I said, if we're going to keep hold of Xhaka, then it's quite clear he's going to have a pivotal role in the side. But why are we keeping hold of El Nene when, for me, Torreira is a better player? Willock for me. Obviously, they're slightly different players, but Willock has gone on loan. He's shown progress. I just don't understand. We've got Aziz in the under-23s who's had a great preseason. I don't understand why we're playing El Nene. He's just not good enough. He needs to go. I just fed up of seeing him play, to be honest. Sorry, I just had enough of him.
Durante's back in the building.
Oh, mate. It's just I literally see him have a mini heart attack every time he gets the ball, and the team's pressing us. He just wants to get rid of it, and it doesn't matter where he puts it. He just wants to get rid of it. Or like in the other friendly a couple of days ago, weeks ago, he tries to do a little cutback and gets caught in possession, and they score a goal. I think it was against Millwall.
Gets caught out every time.
Just like, come on, man!
Absolutely every time he gets caught out, and he still hasn't learned his lesson. I mean, was it Watford we played the other day? And then Leno kicked out to him and he panicked. And I was like, what are you doing? I wasn't even sure if Deeney was on, but I was like, that is like the ideal opportunity. That's what he does. I'm like, what are you doing? I was so annoyed with that.
For me, he's surplus to requirements. He needs to go. Like, I think he's the worst midfielder we have in our current squad. And that's including, like I say, the likes of Aziz. He's the worst midfielder we've got.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, well, that leads us on to then potentially a couple of players we've been linked with that I want to talk about. And just before I do that, for Varna, I hope I pronounced that right, the Chelsea fan, say great to have you with us tonight. Give us a quick couple of lines in there in the chat, please, about how you felt Chelsea played yesterday. Were you impressed? And also, Chelsea at the minute haven't signed anybody. Are you concerned about that, or are you happy enough with the squad that you have? And while he's doing that, we'll move on and we'll talk about a couple of other players. So one that we have been linked with in the last week, and I know Lottie, you were on with Gunnar King last week talking about this, is this guy from Lyon, Bruno Guimaraes, the Brazilian central midfielder. Now, this is one we were linked to a couple of seasons ago before he actually went to Lyon. We were heavily touted as being in for him. For me, I would love him. I really would. He's not one I'd sort of thought about this summer because I didn't think he'd be available. And if he is available, and he's available for that sort of rumored 30 to 35 million, we should be snapping him up. He is a fantastic player. I mean, we'll come on to you in a wee sec, Lottie, because I know you did talk about him last week. So we'll give G an opportunity to go first on this one. G, I mean, would you be interested in Bruno Guimaraes coming to the club?
Mate, listen, just how could we not? You know what I mean? How could we not? I'm very similar to you, Stephen, in that I thought that ship had sailed. Once he'd signed, for Lyon, I thought that was it. We weren't, it wasn't even an option. But the fact that, obviously the financial situation in French football, and whatever else is going on behind the scenes, the fact that he's available and, the obviously rumored price that he's available at, he walks into our midfield for me. So he walks straight into the first team, like straight away. So he has more quality than the vast majority of the midfielders, if not all of them, other than Partey, because I don't think we've even yet seen the best of Partey still, which is why the injury to him or potential injury is quite frustrating. But for me, he's not really from what I've seen and how I've seen him play. I've seen him playing in the Copa America. No, not Copa. Was it the Copa America I saw him play? Yeah. No, in the Olympics he's been playing recently as well. And he's not really a DM, and he's not really like, I would say, a playmaker, but he kind of does a bit of everything. He can kind of sit deep and likes to tackle, quite strong, but he can also pick a pass. So I think he would complement Partey quite well in the center of midfield. And some people, Arsenal fans might crucify me for this, but I just feel as though he would be an upgrade on Xhaka. I just think he has everything in his locker that Xhaka has, but just to a higher ability level. That's it for me. I just think he's stronger, he's quicker, he's got a better pass. He covers more ground. He can transition play better. That's just my opinion. If you don't agree with me, then you're entitled to your opinion. But for me, he would be an upgrade on Xhaka. So I'd have no issue with him coming in, partnering Partey, or partnering Partey. But then Xhaka, being used, if he's staying at the club, being used as kind of like, a substitute. I know that probably is not going to happen, but yeah, for me, if we can get hold of him, we should be all over that. But I don't know. I know we've had these conversations offline. I feel as though I feel really frustrated because it's like we're being linked with players that other big teams either don't have money for or already have those positions covered. The fees that are being reported are reasonable fees, but yet we're not signing them. This guy, it's like, come on, Arsenal, like, take your finger out and sign these players. Our midfield right now, if Partey is injured, will be Xhaka and El Nene against Brentford. And I can see with that midfield too, I can see us losing the game. It's that simple. So we should be all over that, and just sign him. Just sign him. He's a quality player.
For me, just in terms of his position, you're right. He's not a defensive, deep lying player, but he can play there. He's not an attacking player, but he can play there. He is very much an old school, traditional centre midfielder.
Yep.
And I think that would really complement Partey because Partey can sit back and do the defensive dirty work. It's not, it's not his traditional role. And a lot of people think when we brought him in that's what he was being brought for, was that sort of defensive midfielder. That's not Partey's natural role. He can do it, if he has to, and we've seen him do it very, very well. But having this guy next to him, I think that would be an awesome complete midfield. Yeah. Very little would get by them. Guimaraes, his tackling is immense. His passing is brilliant. He is fantastic. Lottie, what's your thoughts?
Do you know what? I just said it. I said it on Gunnar King's Court. I'd love to have him. I think the dream for me at the moment, if we do get him, is him and Sambi playing together. Oh, that would be absolute dynamite. Like, I know Party's out at the moment, but them two in the middle, it'd be incredible. It really would. I'd absolutely love Sambi from what I've seen of him. And yeah. I just think that combination, the way they both play, it's absolutely perfect. I'm sitting here, we're talking about prices of him. I'm sitting here thinking, I hope Martinelli's doing his agent job and getting him to persuade him to come over and join us, because obviously Martinelli's out in Tokyo with him. So I'm just, it needs to happen. Absolutely needs to happen for me.
Yeah. Supposed to cash Nick Tielemans. Yeah, absolutely. And just on that, so Varna there, in my opinion, we need another midfielder and a striker at Chelsea. Arsenal played more friendlies than us, but we felt we controlled the game. The second half was a substitution fest. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you for that. I mean, obviously, Chris has said there, I think Arteta saying that number 34 isn't leaving kind of means we are looking to add in that area. And that is a concern to me. That, we go in the next season with Partey and number 34 in the middle of the pitch. And this thought of giving number 34 a new contract, it just, I don't get it. And I've seen so many people trying to be positive about it and saying, "Oh no, you have to back him and stuff." And he wants to be there. He came out and he twerked all summer for this move to Roma. He was very open.
Yep.
Well, if you read between the lines, he was very open about his wanting to go. He didn't out and out say it, but if you read between the lines of what he did say, he made it clear he wanted to go. He said, "Arsenal know what I want to do. Rome's some city I love," for whatever it was he said. He made it clear he wanted to go. He's not a fan favourite. He divides the fan base massively. And then all of a sudden yesterday he scores a goal and he's grabbing at the badge and giving it all this and all. And I'm just like, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I don't want another season of number 34 in the middle of the pitch when we could have players like Guimaraes, in there. It doesn't sit right with me. I mean, how do you guys feel about this situation?
I'm going to say this now. Sambi is going to bench him for the season. I'm saying this now because that's how I feel about it. I am reading between the lines. He wanted to go. You don't want to be here? There's the door. We don't want you. Simple as that. A lot of people disagree with me that, but I cannot stand him. I mean, I celebrated when that goal went in and I found out it was him and I was like, oh, okay, fine. I wasn't excited that he actually scored. I've just had enough of him. I really have. It's time for him to move on. He's come out with stuff like, "Oh, you're only as good as your team," and that actually really got under my skin because it's his fault as well as everybody else's on that team. We're in the position that we're in now, and where we ended. And it sounded to be like he didn't want to be here, and he's avoiding responsibility for that season. And I just want him to go. I had enough of him. He winds me up. He really does.
Yeah, it's just you know what it is. I think why a lot of Arsenal fans why we're feeling like this is because we really did see we envisioned this summer being in many ways a squad overhaul. We envisioned it being a kind of mass exodus of certain players, and I think a lot of us kind of resigned ourselves to believing that Xhaka as well as quite a few players would be already gone or would have already left the club. So for me, it's like, obviously Xhaka's not gone. None of them have gone other than Guendouzi. And it's just frustrating because I just feel as though both the player and the club need a fresh start. You know, he needs to move on for his career. And I feel as though Arsenal need to move forward without Xhaka. The problem is now Arteta has publicly come out and said, you know, he's going to be a pivotal member of the squad. He's an important player in my plans. After, like you said, he's been twerking all summer for, like, you know, the Roma move. And it's only broken down because of Roma's financial situation. So it's just not ideal, because we're going into the season and our second best, really and truly right now, our second best, almost proven midfielder, in my opinion, Xhaka, you know, is one, not fully committed, you know, to the team by his comments and his quotes. Two is, you know, is one that massively divides the fan base. And it's just not good. It really isn't. And considering the players that are available, that either equivalent to him in terms of ability, if not better, they're just endless. You've got Neves at Wolves, you've got Basuma, you know, at Brighton. You know, there are options, and it just seems like we're almost, because we can't get rid of him, we're kind of just settling and saying, okay, well, you know, he's all of a sudden an important player for us, and, you know, he's part of our plans. Well, no, he wasn't, because the only reason why he didn't sell him is because Roma ain't got no money. So let's not, you know, let's not try and make it out to be anything than what it is. Like, we're literally holding on to him because, one, we can't get rid of him, and two, we're probably going to try and protect his value in some crazy, you know, rationale of giving him a new contract. It's mental. And going into the season with him in our midfield, for me, it just sums up the state of our club at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I made a comment last night, or not last night, 2 nights ago maybe, on Twitter. Someone had said, it was Chris Davison, friend of the show, had put up a comment about, you know, he was glad that we weren't selling him for less than his worth. And I made a comment that, you know, his worth, he's only worth what someone's willing to pay for him.
Yeah.
So a player will have two worths. They will have what they're worth to their current club, and they'll have what they're worth to the buying club. And we've seen that with Buendia. You know, Buendia went to Aston Villa, and the Aston Villa fans are saying, "Oh, he chose us over yous." He didn't. Yous had a bid accepted. We didn't, because we didn't feel he was worth what yous paid for him. Xhaka, you know, we wanted 20 million or whatever it was as a club. Arsenal wanted 20 million for him. Roma didn't feel he was worth that. So is it that Roma didn't buy him because they don't have the money? Because if you look at what they've spent on other players, they had money. There's no doubt they had money. They just don't think he's worth what we want.
Yeah.
And I think that says quite a lot. And now potentially we offer him a new contract, and we could end up being lumbered with him. And as I've said before, you know, he's not going to want to stay at the club unless he's guaranteed that he's going to be a starter.
Yeah.
So in reality, number 34 is going to be one of the first numbers on the team sheet each week. And that just fills me with fear.
Yeah. You know what it is with Arsenal fans, yeah? And I say Arsenal fans because I don't sometimes put myself in the bracket or all sections of Arsenal fans. It's like we get this whole, it's almost like we become fixated with certain players. You know, we have it with the Ozil situation. And I feel as though like we have it now with the Xhaka situation. And, you know, I saw the comments. And to be honest, I didn't react, because I just thought I can't argue with these guys, because they just clearly got their own, you know, kind of tunnel vision in terms of this player. And they're talking about, you know, Swiss captain, you know, rare tear. If you're an Arsenal fan and you're looking at this Arsenal team and you're looking at Xhaka, I don't want you to look at Xhaka in terms of the quality of our current midfield. I want you to look at Xhaka in terms of the quality of the top 4 to 5, 6 teams in the league. He doesn't get into any of their starting 11s at all. Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, potentially even Spurs. He doesn't get into their teams. So how can you expect to compete or remove one of those top 4 teams when your second best midfielder cannot even get in their first 11. Partey, I'm not saying Partey would walk into any of those teams, but what I'm saying is Partey would compete for position. And an informed Partey that we saw at Atletico Madrid would get into some of those sides. He would have contention. Xhaka, he wouldn't be anywhere near their first 11. He just wouldn't. And if he got into the first 11, he doesn't improve any of those teams. He doesn't improve the quality of the midfield of any of those 4 top teams that I just said. So when we get all sentimental about these players, you know, and fixated on these players staying at Arsenal, you have to understand, like, okay, be sentimental, you know, get fixated, you know, become a fan of a player rather than the club. But really and truly ask yourself, like, if you're unhappy, then don't be unhappy, you know, when we're down in 8th position, because it's not rocket science why we're in 8th. We're in 8th because the squad that we have is not good enough. That's why we're in 8th position. So at the end of the day, if we want to get back into the top 4 and competing for major honours, we need to improve the team that we have. And he isn't the worst. He isn't the worst midfielder that we've got. But, you know, there's a much bigger picture in terms of, like, you know, the way he divides the fan base, you know, his performances, the amount of errors that lead to goals, and even in terms of the value, you know, in selling him on. For me, I just don't get the fixation with Xhaka. And if you can honestly tell me that he gets into one of those top 4 teams midfield, then football's not for you.
Agreed.
Fair enough. Lottie, anything you want to add?
He's going to divide the fan base. Half of us are at each other's throats about he should be here, shouldn't be out. He's going to absolutely split us. And we're just going to be, every time something goes wrong, we're going to be at each other's throats every time we fail. I can see it coming. G said this to me the other day, and I'm like, yeah, it is coming.
Yeah, it is.
It's coming. I can see it coming, and he's going to go down the route where sections of this fan base will go after him again, and it is going to get that bad, especially when he really, really messes up.
He's going to make more mistakes. He's going to make mistakes. He has it in his locker. It's going to happen.
If it does get that bad, it will. What happened before with him and the captain's armband, that's going to happen again. But it's not, obviously, he's not going to have the armband. It's going to happen again, and he's going to plod off. I mean, he was getting booed because he was walking off slowly and the clock was going down. Not because of any other reason. It's from what I see anyway.
All right. Well, listen, there's loads of comments that are coming in. We'll go through them in a wee sec. Just want to take a wee quick short break, and we'll be back in a wee second. Don't go anywhere. All right, so if you're watching live, thank you very much. And if you're watching this later on, again, thank you for taking the time to watch our shows. Make sure if you haven't already done it, hit that like button down there and make sure and subscribe to the channel. Okay, we'll run through a few of these comments before we move on. Today, where have we got to? Chris, Sambi needs to get on the pitch first and then take the chance once he does. The problem we have is other players like Willock have had the chance and not taken it. So 34 is getting back in the team. Yeah, absolutely. I like Sambi. He looks really, really good. WCJ, Sambi and Ferreira in midfield. I'll be happy with that.
Ooh.
Chris, but he
So
doesn't
you got
need
me
to
dreaming.
he doesn't need to move on to improve his career as he's getting in the Arsenal team every week. I agree. I don't see why Lucas can't work in this team. Yeah. Arteta just seems to want to keep Deadwood and doesn't believe in the youngsters. Do you know what? I don't agree with that yet. There is an element of it with the Deadwood, but this thing that he doesn't believe in the youngsters, you know what? You know, you look at Saka, Martinelli, KT, Smith Rowe, Balogun have all signed on the new contracts under Arteta. So, you know, you can't say he doesn't believe in them. They're starting to get game time. I have to disagree with that one, but we'll have you on some night and we can debate it.
The issue is we can't have a whole team of youngsters, and we've got some significant youngsters in the team already.
Okay. Poor decisions are being made. Gunnar Sand, the most frustrating thing is we have an opportunity to finally make real changes to freshen things up at the club, strip ourselves of the Deadwood and bring in real quality, but we were reluctant. Absolutely. And I think a lot of that falls down to, and I'm going to reserve judgment for now on Edu until the end of the transfer window, until we see the final standings. But at the minute, for me, Edu's not cut out for this job, and we need to get someone in who can do it. Antonio, Lottie, love the custom shirt in the background. Funny, I mentioned that earlier on before we came on air. Arteta is wiping number 34's bum and covering for him. He'll just be encouraging any negative behaviour. Yeah, I think it's more if you're manager of the team we're playing, he would be the player you would target every time. You would target him and make rushes passes and gives it away. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's easy to play against. Love the passion G is showing right now.
Thank you.
I think Xhaka has more errors leading goals than his goals scored. Absolutely. I mean, he's made more errors leading to goals than any other player in the Premier League since he arrived at the club. And that just says it all. It's not comments already here. After his outburst, tells fans to F off and doing the Hulk Hogan sign with the year, definitely wanted him gone. Do you know what? I've said this before. For me, my issue with him, it's not even about that. I'm okay with him telling fans to F off after everything he went through with the abuse on social media and stuff like that. It was the way he dealt with the armband and the taking off of the shirt and the way he got on over the whole thing. That was my issue with it. This who doesn't believe in youngsters bit is only said by those banging on about that Martinelli doesn't play every week. And if we have 5 unwanted players that we cannot sell, what can we do? Can't sell if there's no demand. Well, this is the thing. It's hard to get rid of, and the problem is that we have players now that were brought in during the Wenger and Gazidis era that are on high wages that are quite happy to sit there and take the money.
Yeah,
we're fortunate that some of them are coming up to the end of their contract. Elneny has a year left. Number 2 is wanted, but Inter Milan are only willing to take him on loan. A couple of Spanish clubs potentially interested, but again, they don't have the money to pay for him. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, there's a couple of others, but yeah, it's hard to get them out when they're on such high wages because they will. I mean, if you're a professional footballer and you're coming to the end of your career, do you sit and think, well, I could sit here and get the money or go somewhere and play? And I think it says a lot about the mentality of the player that they don't want to just go. They're not really that interested. I mean, we've said it about Willian before. He's come and he's quite happy to sit and get a payday. He's no real interest in playing football because if he did, he wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So it leads us on to another player we've been linked with this week, and that is Marco Asensio from Real Madrid. Now, Madrid need to sell players, and apart from a few, I think there's only about 3 or 4, pretty much everybody's up for sale at Madrid. And Asensio is one that for years has been touted as a big, big player for the future. But again, he hasn't quite fulfilled that potential, but he is a quality player. Very similar in the mold of Aouar for me. He's a sort of a left-sided midfielder. Can play sort of left wing, can play in the centre of midfield. He is a very good footballer. But for me personally, if it was between Asensio, who's going to cost you probably 40, 45 million, or Aouar, I'd be taking Aouar all day long. I think Aouar's ceiling is much higher. But it's, it's one that if we got, I wouldn't be sad. But I think going for Aouar for the money would definitely be a better deal. Lottie, I mean, what's your thoughts on Asensio?
I mean, he's got the versatility. I mean, he can play left wing, left mid, attacking midfielder, centre mid, and on the right wing. But again, you're slightly converting me into an our fangirl, so I'm definitely leaning towards him at the moment. At the moment, he is over in Tokyo as well. He's made 4 appearances, 1 assist, but nothing special, if I'm honest. other than that, the thing is, would he come to us about European football? I mean, he played in the Champions League last season 11 times and had 2 goals. Would he want to come over here to us? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel as though I feel as though he's a good player, but I feel as though it's a risk in terms of him potentially kind of transitioning to the Premier League. I remember when I saw clips of Ceballos, I actually thought he was going to do very well at Arsenal. I saw clips of him. I think he was playing. I can't even remember where he was playing, but I know he was playing at Madrid and he was playing for the Spanish team or the under I don't know what it was, whatever the tournament it was that I was watching him in. But he looked a really good player, and I thought to myself, I could really see him doing bits at Arsenal, but it never quite worked out. And obviously, he's gone back to Madrid. I just feel as though like this window is for us to buy, players that, one, are either Premier League proven or are, for me, established at their clubs. And although he's a good player, he's not quite worked out at Madrid. I just feel as though we need to be buying players that are not going to necessarily need time to transition, that are not going to, it's not particular risk. I just want a player to come in and we say, when you buy a player and you get that feeling that he's walking straight into that side, he's just improving that team instantly. And although I feel as though he's a better player than a lot of the players we have, I have my reservations in terms of him, one, not fulfilling his potential, and 2, transitioning to the Premier League. At the right price, it's definitely worth a purchase because he's better than a lot of what we've got. But for me, there are players, not necessarily I'd say better players in terms of ability, but there are players that are far more established and settled at their clubs that would come in and have more of an instant impact at Arsenal than him. So, like you, Stephen, while I won't, I wouldn't be distraught at the thought of having him or disappointed. I just feel as though that there are other midfield targets out there that I prefer.
Okay. All right. Another one then that's potentially linked with a move out of the club is Ainsley Niles. Links this week that Burnley have potentially agreed a fee with Arsenal, but the sticking point is going to be being able to pay Maitland-Niles what he wants. But there is confidence that deal can get done. I mean, for me, I'll sort of go first. I've said before, if he swallowed his pride and realised he's not a centre midfielder, he has potential to have a career at right back because he's shown that he can play there and at left back as well. But I think he could, and I think he's better at right back than certainly Chambers and number 2 are. So it's sad for me that he won't swallow that pride, but it's his choice. He wants to play as a centre midfield. And if he does go to Burnley, do you know what? Good luck to him. You guys, I mean, do you think that he deserves another chance in the midfield, or are you happy to see him go?
I'll let you go first, Jay.
Yeah, you know what? Ainsley's one of those players that I am actually, like you, Steve, I am actually quite, first of all, if we can get a deal with Burnley done, get it done. That's first and foremost, because we need players out the door. If we're going to bring any players in, we need to trim the squad. So first of all, if we got the deal, if we can get the deal done, get it done. However, besides that, I do feel as though he's a player that, has shown great potential. And I still remember, and I'm not saying he should be playing in midfield, but I still remember performance. I think it was against United, and he played man of the match a couple of seasons ago. I don't know if it was United or Liverpool. I think it might have been United at Old Trafford, and he was actually man of the match, and he played centrally. And I'm not saying I see him playing centrally, but for me, if we're giving El Nene minutes, then I don't see why. I can't see us doing any worse with putting Ainsley Maitland-Niles in the middle either. But for me, it's not the middle where I feel as though he should play. For me, if he, like you said, if he could humble himself or whatever it is, you know, him being at right back and some of the form he's shown in previous seasons, we could already have our back four. But for whatever reason or another, he made that clear behind the scenes to Arsenal. He's gone on loan. He's made it clear. You know, Sam Allardyce has said what he said. So clearly he wants to play in midfield. And you know what? At the end of the day, whatever we think, you know, he's his own man. He knows what he wants, and that's what he wants. So you kind of got to respect him in terms of that. He's sticking to his guns. That's where he wants to play. So that's where he wants to play. So I wish him all the best of luck. I don't like to get sentimental, and I very rarely get sentimental, but he's one player that I really kind of feel as though it would have been nice if it had worked at Arsenal. It really would have been. You know, that stint that he had at right back, really, really impressive. And I just don't know, you know, whatever reason it is, he doesn't want to play there. But yeah, if we can get the deal done with Burnley, get the deal done, sell him, get a decent price, a place in the squad, and let's bring someone in. It's that simple.
Fair enough. Lottie?
Yeah, no, if he does want to play, like, as you said, he'd be great down at the right back. We wouldn't have the problem with your favourite number 2. And then he would have had his Arsenal career made. But he don't want to do that. You can't force someone to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah, he's not happy.
He wants to go. Let him go. See you later. Thank you, but
okay. All right. There was a comment there, Weezy J. Sorry, I got to say, I wish Wenger was around. He would definitely get some top players in the door right now without European football. So, the last time we didn't have European football, 25 years ago, Bruce Rioch was the manager. Yes. And we signed a certain number 10 from Inter Milan without having European football, which, as a seamless link, leads us into the next potential rumour, which, and we talked about this last week, was Lautaro Martinez. But this is gathering pace this week that we are heavily interested in him. And G, obviously you weren't on the show last week. Martinez, how happy would you be if we got this guy?
I don't even, mate. I'd be thrilled. The fact that we're even linked with him and strongly linked with him, I have to be honest, I was very, very surprised. Like, extremely surprised. Because for me, there are a different caliber of players. And I feel as though where we are right now as a club, we're not in touch with the top tier of potential centre forwards. And what I mean by that, I mean your Haalands, your Lukakus, your Neymars, and that type of player. Like, there's no point for me, because in terms of what they're doing with their clubs, where their careers are, I just can't. Realistic, I don't see those options. As sad as it sounds, but I don't think any of those players would even consider coming to Arsenal Football Club. Now, when you go below that tier of striker, I feel that's where, you know, Martinez is that he's not quite the finished article in terms of, like, when I say finished article, I think Lukaku is an experienced, prolific goal scorer. You've got, you know, Neymar, you've got Haaland doing stuff at Dortmund. I don't necessarily feel like he's the finished article, but he's a very, very, very good player. And, you know, there is still a lot in terms of potential, how good he can actually be. I don't think we've seen the best of him in terms of his career. But yeah, he would be a massive upgrade on what we have so far. And I say that in that I think he's a better goal scorer. I think he's a better player than Lacazette. Right now, in terms of Aubameyang's form, he gets into the team over Aubameyang for me. So that's the type of player that instantly improves our side. So it's not rocket science, you know. If we can somehow, one, it's been reported that we're in for him. 2, he would consider the move. 3, we've got the money, which other clubs interested don't really have. We've got to get the deal done. Like, we just simply need to get it done because he instantly improves the team. His ceiling in terms of potential is so great that he could become world class. And in terms of all the forwards that we've been linked with, or for me that are realistic options, I didn't feel as though he was. But if he is, we need to snap him up ASAP.
Okay. I mean, that kind of leads us on as well, then, Lottie, to talking about these two, Aubameyang and Lacazette. Lacazette has been linked once again with a move to Atletico Madrid. He's also, Lyon potentially interested. And Aubameyang's coming off the back of a bad season. Now, I did do a wee bit on a video for Sophie, Gunner TV, I think she is, the other day, and she'd done a wee positive video for Aubameyang. I'm quite happy to do that. And I don't believe that Aubameyang has become a bad player overnight. I think he's lacking confidence at the minute. But, did you see anything yesterday that would make you think, no, don't go for the likes of a Martinez, stick with Lacazette and Aubameyang and Eddie and Balogun, and don't bring a new forward in?
Thing is, I'm looking at this realistically. Lacazette's got maybe one more big contract left that he could have for the next couple of years. And Arsenal have made it clear they're not going to give. Doesn't look like they're going to give him one. For me, I'd keep him because of the mentorship he brings to the likes of ESR, to Saka, and let him go. It's that easy for me because the way that ESR's game has changed since he's come out in an interview and said, yeah, Lacazette's been mentoring me, sort of thing. It's you can see how much his game's changed, and I've got a bit of a soft spot for him, but he's always willing up for a fight. Whereas Aubameyang, when he got benched at Tottenham last season, he went into a sulking child mode. Like, you expect a big player like that to come back and remind the manager, "This is my spot. You're not benching me again." We did that to Lacazette. He responded to that, but Aubameyang sat on that bench like a child and sulked. I don't understand it with him. I think we were having a conversation before the show. I mean, there's a video of him and his brother driving along, and he's sitting there posing on social media while he's driving the car. And people, there's certain people like, "Oh, don't ruin his vibe, don't ruin his vibe." I'm like, the man's driving on a road, drive a car.
Yeah, he's ruining our vibe because he's not getting any goals.
Exactly. He's too interested in social media and playing video games on Instagram to be actually playing ball on the pitch. I think, what was the other thing I was going to say about him? I mean, if he stopped with the social media, when he was scoring, he wasn't on social media. He seems too interested in that to be getting the goals in. I mean, he's getting a paycheck. It doesn't seem like he cares anymore. And I said this before, he shouldn't be our captain. I don't want him as our captain. He's not a leader. He needs to concentrate on his goal scoring.
Okay. I want to put this to you guys in the chat who are watching at the minute, and share your thoughts with us. I played out a scenario to G and Lottie the other night about Aubameyang, in that I see there being a potential opportunity that we may sell him this summer, and that is Mbappe only has a year left on his contract at PSG. It doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract, so they're going to want to sell. Madrid are trying to sell players because they want to buy Mbappe. If Mbappe was to go to Madrid, there's been talk that PSG would want Aubameyang. If PSG came in and offered, say, 30 million for Aubameyang, would you sell him?
Nothing less than 40.
Nothing less than 40?
You
guys in the chat drop in your thoughts.
I'd sell both of them, to be honest. I think, as you can tell, I'm kind of just fed up with a lot of the players and going into the season. So for me, Aubameyang had, since he's been with us, he's been fantastic, and we cannot take away from his contributions to this team. That has to be said. When we look at his performances in the FA Cup, his performances in the league, how many goals he's got, he's been absolutely phenomenal. But last season, for more than, for various reasons, he didn't have a good season. He hasn't scored a single goal this preseason. And I've not seen anything in his performances to suggest that his form is he's gonna have a return to form. Now, you don't become a bad player overnight. So, you know, and we all know Aubameyang is a quality finisher, but there's just something doesn't work up front. It's just not working with Aubameyang on the left, or Aubameyang in the middle, or Aubameyang's not in the team. Lacazette's in. You know, I know he mentors. You know, the young guys. He holds up the ball well, etc. But like, he had his best season last season, and we finished 8th. And I go back to the same question. I really don't want to be negative, because I feel as though I'm being quite negative tonight. But if we look at our centre forward, Lacazette, does he get into any of the top 6 teams in the Premier League? So how can we expect to compete with the top teams in the Premier League if our striker cannot get into their first 11? He's not good enough. Like, I have to be so blatantly honest now, because it's like this season we were promised a pre-season, and we were promised players, you know, to come into this team to improve this team. And yes, Lacazette works hard. Yes, there is a lot to his game. Yes, he's been a great mentor to those youngsters, but his job is to put the ball in the back of the net. His job, we bought him, is to get us 20 plus goals in the league season after season after season. He's not done that. He's yet to do it. So he's not done his job. He's 29. We can't give him a new contract, because if we do, that's just absolute nonsense. So we need to sell him. Aubameyang, we need to either give him this season or sell him too, because he's not a left winger, and right now he can't score any goals up top. So for me, if an offer came in for both of them, and we could generate somewhere between 50 to 60 million for the pair of them, I'd get rid of them, and I would sign a left winger, you know, to go on the left with Martinelli, or a left midfield, or whatever it is, and I'd buy a centre forward that's going to come into the team and improve the team, because right now it's just not looking good. It's not looking good. We had a real issue last season scoring goals, and this pre-season we've had an issue scoring goals. There have been times when we've played well in pre-season games, and Aubameyang missed a hat trick of chances, you know, against Rangers. He missed an absolute sitter yesterday against Chelsea with a pinged in cross from Tavares. He seems as though he's lost all his confidence. And when we look at his age, and we look at, you know, the for me, I said it to the guys before the show, I saw the video that his brother posted, and I'm not impressed. I have to be honest. You're captain of Arsenal Football Club. You didn't have a particularly good season last season. You've not had a particularly good pre-season. Back-to-back 8th positions, and you know, you're rolling around in a car with your brother, and you're driving, and you got a phone in your hand. You know, for me, it's just it all just adding up, and it's not a nice picture that I'm seeing. And I don't want us to go into this season, and I don't want us to finish 8th again. I want us to finish in the top 4, if not a title challenge. And for me, the only way we're going to do that is forgetting the sentimental side of these players and the wishful thinking that they're going to find form or they're going to come good. Lacazette's not done what we bought him for. Aubameyang is at present not doing what he's in the squad for. So if we get good offers for either of them or both of them, let them go and bring in players that will do a job.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm fed up.
Well, you know, a lot of people agreeing with you here in the chat, G. And I mean, you're right. And we've talked about this before. So, I mean, yeah, for me, if we got the right offer for him, I'd let him go. He's 32. You know, he may have one good season, but he is going to start in decline, as Chris has said there as well. He is going to start in decline over the next couple of years. And we give him the big contract because at the time he was firing and we needed that. But I think it's kind of proved to be a bad move, and that we maybe should have tried to sell him to Barcelona and invested in youth. But again, you know, we needed a proven goal scorer at the time. So it is what it is. But we'll move on. Just want to come to this comment. Adam Ali, thoughts on Palestine? Unless he can play up front for Arsenal, I have no real thoughts on that. All joking aside, thank you for being on the with us in the show. But we don't talk politics on this show. I'm going to be honest, it's not something, that particular issue is not something I know an awful lot about. But we don't talk politics on this show. But thank you for being with us anyway. Just a quick update then on another player, Nelson. Rumored that Patrick Vieira wants to take him to Crystal Palace. I think we've discussed this before, so we'll not go into it. I don't think any of us will be overly sad to see him go. Another player that hasn't lived up to his potential, and we need to, as I've said before, use HLN to its full potential, which is selling players that aren't good enough to make money to be able to invest then in the first team. Everyone was buzzing when Nobby was signed. He carried us to an FA Cup. I don't blame the club for that. No, I mean, I don't blame the club for giving him the contract either. I'm saying in hindsight, I think it maybe has proved to be a negative for him. And it's maybe a victim of circumstance in the fact that since he got that contract, he hasn't played as well and he hasn't delivered. So it's hard to know, is it the contract or is it just happened to be the circumstances that have happened?
At the end of the day, the ball's in Aubameyang's court. Like, that's it. Like, he came to Arsenal, and I was thrilled when we signed him. And I must admit, the thought of him not signing that contract at that summer for me was unthinkable. For me, like there was no option other than Aubameyang has to stay. And I was in a way I was kind of grateful that he stayed, because I feel as though, I know there was a lot of rumors about money and so forth, etc. But I feel as though at that point he could have walked away, and in the past players have walked away. So me as an Arsenal fan, I was really happy. And I'm not saying like, don't give him an opportunity. Like I said earlier in the show, every single Arsenal player that puts on that shirt, even the ones I dislike, I want them to do well. I really do. But at the same time, we have to be realistic, and we have to say to ourselves, like, we're not, these players are, at the end of the day, these players play for the club that we support. We support Arsenal. And yes, we support them while they play for Arsenal, but we need to think about Arsenal as a club, where we want to go, where we want to be. So it's either they deliver or we replace them. It's that simple, because we can't just keep waiting for players to fulfill their potential, or so forth. But the ball is in Aubameyang's court. He's a top quality striker. He's had a poor season. He's had a poor preseason. Only he knows what's causing, the lack of form. And if he doesn't, the only thing he can do is get back to the training ground, go back to basics and put it right. Because the minute he puts it right on the pitch, everything else sorts itself out. So, but at the end of the day, if he's going to continue his form from last season into this season and have an equally bad season, then what should we do then? Should we just keep him because, he had a great season 2 seasons ago? Like, what top club does that?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, listen, we'll move on. There's one more player that I want to speak about. And again, another one who's rumoured with moves away from the club. But for me, right now, whilst I'm not a fan of his, and I think he does ultimately need to go, for me at the minute, I would potentially be starting him against Brentford next week.
Yeah.
And that's Eddie Nketiah. I mean, of our striking options so far in pre-season, he looks the sharpest. He is taken on. We always talked about him being sort of a 5-yard poacher, and all of a sudden he's taking on shots from all over the box, and he's getting them on target, and he's looking dangerous. I'm not necessarily saying I want to keep him, but at the minute of our forward options, he's the one I'd be starting next week. Lottie, I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
I think no, I'm totally with you with the starting, that's for sure, especially throughout pre-season. But I do think his exit's near. I just find, like, I think with the game they played behind closed doors and then they released it because Arsenal won, he was sitting away from the team. So I think his move is imminent, but I would start him against Brentford. In case there's someone else that says, "Oh yeah, let's buy him before the window closes." It's just another opportunity to sell him, to be honest.
Okay, G.
Yeah, it would be typical of Arsenal, though, isn't it? As soon as he hits form, we sell him. It would be typical. But yeah, I'm really not sure about Eddie. What I will say is that he was on my positive list because what I saw of him, what I've seen of him in pre-season, he's looked sharp, he's looked strong, he's looked sharp, he's looked quick, and he's been playing on that left-hand side quite a bit. And he's looked decent. When he came on, he looked sharp. He looked good. And like you said, at the moment, in terms of who I would stick on the left-hand side or potentially in the centre forward position, he looks, out of all our strikers, he's the only one that scored from open play. In terms of our centre forwards, I think Lacazette's got a penalty, and I think Aubameyang hasn't hit the net. I think Eddie's got 2. So it's a tough one. I can't see Arteta starting him, but given the form and given the pre-season, which is what pre-season's for, really, isn't it? It's for you to kind of show the manager whether you're in contention for a starting position. So this pre-season hasn't done him any. It's done him favors. He's only improved his profile, whether that's to either get into the Arsenal side or whether that's to put a couple of more digits on his sell price. But yeah, I really don't know. I've seen, obviously you can't read too much into the admin, but I've seen quite a few things about Eddie on the admin. Like I think it was when he was walking out with Ben White and he said we're attached at the hip, kind of thing. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if he's going to go. I'm not sure if he's going to stay. I would have said at one point that I think if a good offer comes in, I still think we should get rid of him because I think it's heavily rumoured that we are in for a centre forward. So for me, if we can't get rid of Laka or don't want to get rid of Laka or Aubameyang, we don't want it to sell. If he would be my first option to sell. And if we could get 15-20 million for him, not only is that a good fee, but it also allows us to bring in another centre forward. So I would definitely say, we should look to sell him this window. However, as you said, Stephen, given the form of our forwards right now, he's definitely in contention to start against Brentford because I've not seen anything from Uber. Well, Laka's been all right, but I've not seen anything from Aubameyang to suggest that, he's going to go into that game full of confidence and get on the score sheet.
Okay, excellent. Well, listen, guys, that's kind of it in terms of rumours and talking about the ins and outs and stuff at the minute. I think it's clear, there's a lot of work needs to be done over the next 3 to 4 weeks before this window closes.
Right.
We need minimum 4 new players for me, a minimum of 4 new players, and there's potentially 10 to 12 players could go out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm reserving judgment right now on Edu and Arteta until the end of the window, and we'll see what happens. How you, Scott?
You're all right. Yeah. Yeah, I was more referring to Uber and Laka though in terms of their Laka goals. So, but yeah, you're right, Chris.
I think for me, if Xhaka signs that new contract, Edu's got to go. That's it for me. That's the last straw. If Xhaka signs that contract, I'm done with him. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Some big decisions over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Arteta says it's going to happen, so.
Absolutely. All right. Well, before we come on to the last sort of bits of the show where we'll run through sort of bit on the Fantasy Football League, the subs challenge and the socials and stuff like that. I just want to give you a quick update on what's coming. Obviously the start of the new season is next week. And as I say, this potentially could be the last Rumour Mill show, just depending on a couple of things between now and next Monday. If they don't quite go as planned, we'll do another Rumour Mill. If they go as planned, we'll do something different. We will be back this Thursday night, potentially, I think, with Lottie giving us a bit of an insight into the Fantasy Premier League stuff. So we will do a show on that, giving everybody the ins and outs and the rules and stuff like that, if anybody isn't aware of them. But we'll have a bit of crack with that one as well. So get in and have a chat on there. Then the following week on the Thursday night, which is the 12th, will be the first preview show of the new season. So we'll preview the Brentford game, which is mine and G's staple. This is what we built our channel on, was previews and reviews.
We did.
So we're looking forward to that, and I'm excited for that one because myself and Martin from Gunforce Edits, who does all our graphics and stuff, have been working over the last few days, and we have a whole new look coming next week for the show. And for all our social media stuff, we have a whole brand new look coming, which includes a wallpaper for the phones that we'll share with you as well. That if anybody wants to have a Canon Chatter wallpaper or lock screen on their phone, it's pretty cool. I have some couple of new T-shirts ordered, new look for that as well, just to trial something. Because I know obviously a number of you guys have asked, where you can get the Canon Chatter T-shirts and stuff. I have a new supplier that I'm working with now. At the minute, if it's all okay, I say I'm testing it at the minute. If they're all okay, it will be initially, there'll have to be sort of an element of trust in that you would, if you want to buy the stuff, you transfer the money to me and I'll put the order in, rather than doing it directly through our website or anything until we can get a website built. And we potentially will have some other merchandise available, hopefully, for next week as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. A lot of good stuff coming up on the channel. I'm really excited about the new season and doing our stuff. Not necessarily excited about Arsenal playing, but I'm excited about this channel and the growth that we're having. So on that, G, tell us about the subscriber challenge.
Yes, so the subscriber challenge is still there. Obviously, sometimes it's easy to get sidetracked, but we do have a subscriber challenge. And the challenge is that if we hit 500 subscribers between now and the start of the new season, which is August the 13th, then Stephen will bleach his hair blonde. So, we're getting there, but we're not quite there. So, any of you that do watch our content and haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. If you're new and you're watching the content and you've enjoyed our show, please do subscribe. If you know any Gooners, any Arsenal fans that watch YouTube or have a YouTube account, please encourage them to subscribe because I really want to see Stephen with blonde hair. Okay? Bleach blonde hair. And then all I need to do is then get him a shirt with Xhaka on the back and it will be sorted. I'm joking. Don't kill me, Steve. It's a good job he's in Ireland, didn't it?
You were lucky.
Did you see the look? Oh, mate. Anyway. So, yeah, if you want to see...
I can mute your mic, by the way, just so we don't have to listen to you anymore.
So, yeah, if you want to see Stephen with bleach blonde hair, please do get subscribing so we can hit the 500 mark for the 13th of August. If you want to see me with bleach blonde hair, then you have a little bit longer to get that achieved. So if we hit 1,000 subscribers by the 31st of December of this year, then I will bleach my hair. And we're still debating how far we'll go. It will probably be the hair, the beard, as well as the tash is probably how far I'll go. So yeah, if you want to see that, get subscribing. And the last challenge, which is a huge one, if we hit 2,000 subscribers by the start of next season, then there will be a choice of 3 tattoos in which Lottie will, well, not necessarily Lottie will choose, but there will be a situation where we choose one of the 3. There might be some fan participation. There might be some participation from me and Stephen. Obviously, Lottie's going to have a say in what gets tattooed on her skin at some point. But yeah, if you want to see Stephen bleach blonde hair, 13th of August, 500 subscribers. If you want to see me with bleach blonde hair, beard and tash, 31st of December of this year. And if you want to see Lottie get her tattoo, 2,000 subscribers by the start of next season. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you. Couple of quick comments. Brilliant show, guys. I'm so glad they've called a live stream. Glad to be back in the chat. Big up all you guys. Thank you. Canon Chatter Swagger. Yes, please. Lottie's look.
I can't believe you said that. I was like, what? To be honest, I was expecting that from you.
I only said it
because
he's in Ireland. That's the only reason why I said it. Because did you see if looks could kill?
You're dead.
Gee, that would be a nice Halloween costume. All right, guys, if you've any more comments, drop them in the chat now. And we'll come back to them in a wee sec. Lottie, talk to us about fantasy football.
Okay, so we've got our own league this season. It's obviously called Cannon Chatter. If you want to come and join us, you can join us via the website, which is fantasy.premierleague.com, or you can just download the app on your iPhone or your Android. You will need to set your team up first before you try and join the league, otherwise it's not going to work. The entry code is on screen. If you do have any problems, drop me a message on Twitter or anywhere you've got me on social media. I will send you the auto join link. You just tap on it and it lets you join. I am closing this on the 13th of August at midday, just because it's going to make it fair for everybody, because I believe Stephen is trying to sort some prizes up for us at Christmas and end of the season. Is that right?
Yeah.
So just to make it fair. So if you want to join us, get your team sorted before next Friday, midday.
Come round fast, isn't it?
Yeah,
excellent, thank you. Right, before we come back to the comments, G, take us through the socials.
No problem. So yes, please do. You know what? First of all, massive thank you for those of you, who are tuning in tonight. Those of you who are regulars, those of you who are tuning in for the first time. We massively appreciate all your support. I know I was ill last week. I just want to say this: I was ill last week, so I couldn't do it. But I've been really excited. I said to Stephen and Lottie before I came on, I was really excited and really looking forward to doing the show. And yeah, I just really enjoy being part of the platform and having an interaction with you guys, because we all love the club. So you obviously follow us on YouTube, you watch the shows. If you want to follow us on our socials where you can get all the kind of latest information and content, please do follow us on Facebook, which is very simple. Just type in Cannon Chat and you'll find us. Instagram, again, it's very simple. Type in at Cannon_chat. But as soon as you start typing in the Cannon, we come up. It's very easy to find. Most of you will know us from Twitter. If you don't, then please do get to know us on Twitter. Our official Twitter account is at Cannon Chatter. Stephen's Twitter account is at SB Cannon Chatter. Mine is at G Talks Arsenal, and Lottie's is at Lottie_B. That's 2 T's and 2 I's. Oops. Yeah. So Lottie has a blog which you can catch up on. Really good read. There is a review on there in terms of kind of like last season. She's been doing some great work in terms of her research on Tavares, our new kind of understudy to Tierney. Really decent read. Go on there, catch up with it. I know Lottie goes through stages where she kind of just write loads and then she has a bit of a break, but I'm sure she'll be kind of updating that as and when she can. But obviously juggling work, Cannon Chat.
I am working on Ben White, guys. I am working on it.
There you go. There you go. So new content's on its way. So if you do want to catch it, that's how you catch it. Okay. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications and hit that like button.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. All right. Last couple of comments then before we go. Going to get Lottie a Xhaka tattoo.
And you thought what I said was bad.
Antonio, you and me are not going to be friends anymore. I'm not even playing. No. You
thought what I said was
bad. Any ideas. Do not get any ideas. No. Stephen, I can see those things in your head. Stop it. No. It's not going to happen. No.
See, I'm thinking of Harry Kane with his arm around number 34. With a speech bubble.
Oh,
man.
Saying I love Cannon Chatter.
You were so lucky you're in Ireland.
Oh,
so lucky. That's all right, don't worry. Antonio, I haven't forgotten about your England Harry Kane shirt either, darling. I promise you. 1,000 subscribers, you're going to get it.
Seriously, though, thanks to the Cannon Chatter crew for this great show and making my trip home pleasant. No worries. Someday you'll see us all at the Emirates. Hopefully. Hopefully we'll all get together someday.
100%.
All right, listen, that's it. Thank you again to everybody who's watched this live and for staying with us for another 2-hour show. We never intended to go on this long, but do you know what? It's thanks to you guys interacting and getting involved. And we genuinely, as G says, we love doing this. It is strange when you're not on the show for a week. You really miss being on. You know, so number 34, number 2,
me
and
you, Chris, are
Quindosi
gonna fall
tattoo
out.
for Lolly.
Chris, me and you are gonna fall out. End of story.
We should just get a barcode numbers in it. 2, 34, 30. Was it 34, 25? Is it El Nenny's number?
Please don't forget you're only south of the river. Behave yourself. Yeah, he's quite safe. You're not.
Oh God. Oh man.
You love a bunch of wind-ups.
Yeah. NDB30 TV, a good evening tattoo.
No.
Oh, so many ideas.
I know. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Keep them coming in.
Keep them coming in, guys.
What you guys have cooked up, yeah.
Don't worry. Nothing's as bad as what I've really thought of. Don't you worry. So, anyway, on
how
that
many
note,
subscribers are we at again?
We need to start pushing it. I tell ya.
Yeah. We'll push it after next week. I don't mind.
Yeah, because you don't have to bleach your hair. Yeah.
Yeah. After the deadline goes, we can push.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Get G to bleach his hair.
I think I'm going to design the number 34 on Kane tattoo right now. Good lad. Right, listen, guys, on that note,
Me and you, Chris, are no longer
thank
friends.
you all for tuning in. It's been great fun. We will see you later on this week when we're back with the Fantasy Premier League show. And then, as I say, we're back next Monday and next Thursday, and then it is the start of a new season. Cannot wait. But we will see you later in the week. From me, good evening, G.
Good evening, guys. It's just been great laughing it. See you soon.
Lottie, final word.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Bye.